Welcome back, everybody. Ready for another deep dive?
Absolutely.
Excellent. So, I've been looking over all the stuff you sent me this week, all the notes and articles, and it's really fascinating stuff.
It is.
It seems like the underlying theme here is adaptation.
Yeah.
How systems adapt, and also how, even though systems can be totally different, a lot of the same principles apply.
Yeah.
And we're going to be talking about all kinds of things.
Yeah.
Everything from ships to revolutionary leaders to the, believe it or not, the fax machine.
Oh, it's gonna be a really interesting deep dive, I think.
Yeah. Okay. So let's dive right in.
Okay.
I think a good place to start is with the concept of relativity.
Oh yeah.
Now, don't worry. We're not gonna go full Einstein here.
Okay.
But the concept of relativity can be applied to so many different things.
Yeah.
Beyond just physics.
Absolutely.
And one of the things that came to mind was the story of Fridtjof Nansen's ship, the Fram. Yes. And how he designed that ship to withstand the crushing pressure of Arctic ice.
Mm-hmm.
Now, most people at the time thought the only way to survive in the Arctic was to avoid the ice, to fight against it.
Fight against it, yeah.
Nansen had a different perspective.
Hmm.
He saw the ice not as an obstacle, but as a force he could use to his advantage.
He used it to his advantage. Mm-hmm.
So instead of fighting the ice, he designed a ship that would work with the ice.
Yeah.
He uses pressure to lift the Fram above the ice flows, allowing it to drift safely across the Arctic Ocean.
Exactly. Nansen understood the forces at play and found a way to adapt.
Yeah.
And through that adaptation, he created a truly groundbreaking solution to a problem.
Yeah, and what's even more interesting is that this same principle of understanding and adapting to forces applies to human interactions as well.
Oh, this is really cool, yeah.
This reminds me of the case of Min Hong that we were reading about, where there were all these conflicting eyewitness accounts.
Oh, right, yeah.
Of a fight that ended in a fatality, and the jury they really had to dig in and consider the different perspectives.
Yeah.
Not just what each witness saw, but also their potential biases.
Absolutely.
Their limitations.
Absolutely.
Made me realize how crucial it is to seek out multiple viewpoints to get a clear understanding of any situation.
Yeah, the more viewpoints you can access, the closer to the truth you're going to get.
Okay, so we talked about the importance of understanding perspectives and forces.
Mm-hmm.
What about reciprocity? I remember learning about Newton's third law in school. For every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction.
It's one of the coolest laws, right?
Yeah.
It's really.
how did that principle play out in a broader context beyond, pushing on a wall?
Well, I think it's fascinating how this law applies to much more than just physical forces.
Yeah.
Think about jet propulsion, right?
Okay.
A plane's engine pushes exhaust backward, and that action propels the plane forward. It's a perfect example of how opposing forces can create movement.
Yeah. And it also reminds me of the life of Norman Bethune.
Oh, yeah.
Who was a surgeon who dedicated his life to helping others, working tirelessly in, war zones and disaster areas.
Yeah.
He wasn't expecting anything in return, but he found immense personal satisfaction and fulfillment through his acts of service.
Absolutely. That's the beauty of reciprocity. Even when you're not expecting a direct kind of tit-for-tat exchange, acting for the greater good can have a profound impact, not just on the world around you, but also on your own well-being.
Yeah, this brings up an important question for you listening.
Yeah.
How can you engage in more positive reciprocal behaviors in your own life?
Yeah, how can you give back? Because, even small acts of kindness can create a chain reaction, contributing to a more positive and enjoyable life for everyone.
Okay, so now let's dive into a more complex scientific concept.
Okay, love it.
Thermodynamics, specifically entropy. Now, doesn't that mean that everything eventually falls apart?
It kind of does.
It seems like we're constantly fighting a losing battle against chaos.
Yeah, well, it's true that entropy is a fundamental law of the universe, right? The tendency towards disorder.
Right.
Think about a messy room.
Okay.
It takes energy, effort to clean it up.
Right.
And maintain order left to its own devices. It will naturally descend into disorder.
Yeah.
The same applies to social systems, right?
Okay.
Creating and maintaining order requires conscious effort, resources, constant vigilance.
And this makes me think about those massive walls built throughout history.
Oh, interesting.
Hadrian's Wall, the Berlin Wall. Mm-hmm. These were huge, expensive attempts to create a complete separation.
Yeah.
To impose order on a complex system.
Yeah.
But ultimately, they were both costly and, in the long run, ineffective.
Well, they create, they create an illusion of order, but they can't completely stop the flow of information, ideas, and even people.
Yeah.
Right? It's like trying to stop heat from flowing. It's just not realistic in the long run.
So are you saying that trying to isolate ourselves completely is futile?
Not necessarily.
Okay.
It's more about recognizing that complete isolation is rarely achievable.
Yeah.
Or sustainable.
Right.
It's about being aware of those forces at play.
Right.
The natural tendency towards disorder and finding ways to work with them rather than against them.
Yeah.
It's about finding a balance between maintaining order and allowing for the flow of energy and information.
Just remind me of how we build relationships.
Oh, interesting.
Healthy boundaries are essential.
Yeah.
But completely shutting people out isn't the sustainable solution.
Right.
It's about finding that sweet spot.
Yeah.
Where we can connect and grow without losing ourselves in the process.
Yeah, that's a great insight. It really highlights how these principles apply not just to these physical systems or these grand historical events, but to our everyday lives and interactions.
Right.
Speaking of resisting change,
yes.
Have you ever noticed how difficult it can be to break old habits?
Oh, absolutely.
Or let go of outdated beliefs?
All the time.
This is where the concept of inertia comes in.
Inertia. So you mean like Newton's first law?
Exactly.
An object at rest stays at rest.
Stays at rest, yeah.
I get how that works with a ball sitting on a table.
Yeah.
But what does inertia have to do with human behavior?
Well, it's not like we're just inanimate objects.
Right.
It's more about the tendency to resist change.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
We get comfortable with our routines, our beliefs, our ways of doing things.
Yeah.
It takes effort to break free from that inertia.
Right.
To embrace new ideas or ways of being.
Oh, I can definitely relate to that.
Yeah.
And even when we know that something is outdated or harmful, it can be incredibly difficult to let go.
Yeah. Well, that's a perfect example of inertia in action.
Yeah.
And sometimes this resistance to change can have significant consequences, right?
Yeah.
Think about leaded gasoline.
Okay.
Despite overwhelming evidence of its harmful effects,
Right.
it took decades for it to be phased out due to societal inertia.
Wow.
People were accustomed to it.
Yeah.
Industries were built around it.
Right.
And change, even when necessary, was met with resistance.
Yeah. So the key takeaway here is to recognize that inertia exists.
Yeah.
Both within ourselves.
Absolutely.
And in the systems around us.
Yeah.
Being aware of that initial resistance to change can help us overcome those mental and social barriers.
Absolutely.
And become more open to new possibilities.
Exactly. It's about understanding that discomfort can often be a sign of growth.
Okay.
Just like, stepping off of a ship onto the unsteady ice.
Yeah.
Embracing new ideas and ways of doing things can feel, uncertain at first, but that's where the real learning and adaptation happen.
Right.
Now, speaking of movement and change, let's talk about velocity.
Velocity. So isn't that just about speed?
Well, it's more than just how fast you're going.
Okay.
It's about speed in a specific direction.
Okay.
Think about Napoleon's military campaigns.
Okay.
He was known for his lightning fast maneuvers.
Right.
But in the Russian campaign, his focus on speed without a clear objective and without adapting to the harsh conditions led to his downfall.
So you could be the fastest runner in the world.
Right.
But if you're running in the wrong direction, you'll never reach your destination.
You'll never get there.
So it's about aligning speed with a clear purpose.
Yes.
A specific direction.
It's not just about moving fast. It's about moving strategically.
It's making me think about all the times I get caught up in that hustle mentality.
Yeah.
Trying to get as much done as possible.
Yeah.
But sometimes I forget to ask myself, am I even on the right path?
Yeah.
Am I headed towards my actual goals?
Right.
Or am I just running in circles?
That is a crucial question to ask yourself, regularly.
Yeah.
It's so easy to get swept up in the momentum of daily life and lose sight of your long-term objectives.
Yeah.
And that brings us to another fascinating concept. Leverage.
Ah, leverage. Now this is something I can get behind. Leverage. Achieving outsized results with minimal effort.
Absolutely.
Isn't that the dream?
That's the dream.
Tell me more.
Well, think about a simple lever, right?
Okay.
A small amount of force applied at the right point can move a much heavier object.
Right.
It's about understanding where to apply your effort for maximum impact.
Okay.
Identifying those strategic points where you can multiply your efforts.
So it's not just about working hard, it's about working smart.
Exactly. Working smart.
Okay.
And the printing press is a perfect example of leverage in action.
Okay.
It acted as a lever for knowledge dissemination.
Right.
Accelerating the spread of ideas and enabling societal progress in a way that wouldn't have been possible otherwise.
Right, but remember, like any powerful tool,
yes,
leverage can be used for both good and bad.
Absolutely. It's like a double-edged sword.
Right.
Right.
What about Eleanor of Aquitaine?
Oh, Eleanor of Aquitaine.
Didn't she use leverage to achieve some remarkable things in a time when women had very little power?
She did. She strategically used her inherited power and influence to gain autonomy and advance her own goals.
Right.
Even challenging the traditional power structures of her time.
Yeah, it's a fantastic example of how leverage can be used for personal empowerment.
Absolutely.
And to create positive change.
Yeah.
This is making me think about, okay, what are my strengths?
Yeah.
What are my resources? What are my points of leverage?
Yeah.
And how can I use them more effectively to achieve my goals?
That is a fantastic question to consider.
Yeah, it's like I'm looking for those pressure points where I can apply my efforts to create the biggest impact.
Absolutely.
And as we move into the fascinating world of chemistry,
oh yes,
we can see how this idea of leverage plays out in a different context.
Yes.
Let's explore the concept of activation energy.
Activation energy.
Now remind me, what is activation energy again?
Well, it's the minimum amount of energy needed to start a chemical reaction.
Okay.
Think of it like the spark that ignites a fire without enough activation energy.
Right.
The reaction just it won't happen no matter how much potential energy is stored within the system.
So it's about overcoming that initial hurdle to get things moving.
It is, yeah.
To initiate change.
Yeah, to get that ball rolling, so to speak.
Right. And this principle applies to more than just chemical reactions.
Right.
Consider the story of Thomas Sankara, a revolutionary leader in Burkina Faso. He initiated significant social and economic reforms.
Okay.
But ultimately failed to create a sustainable system. And why?
Yeah.
Well, because he didn't account for the ongoing energy and effort required to maintain those changes over time.
It's like starting a movement is one thing, but keeping that momentum going, providing that constant activation energy is a whole other challenge.
It is.
He sparked the fire, but he didn't build a structure to sustain it.
Exactly. It's crucial to not just initiate change, but also to plan for the long haul, and anticipate the potential obstacles and resistance that will inevitably arise.
Right.
Speaking of accelerating change,
have you ever thought about how certain things can speed up processes without being consumed themselves?
Right.
That's where the concept of catalysts comes in.
Catalysts. I remember learning about those in chemistry class.
Yeah.
Like those catalytic converters in cars, right?
Exactly.
They help reduce emissions without being used up in the process.
Yeah.
But how does this concept apply beyond the realm of chemistry?
Well, it's fascinating how this principle plays out in social and historical contexts.
Okay.
Think about the printing press.
Okay.
It didn't create new ideas or knowledge itself,
right,
but it acted as a catalyst for the Renaissance.
Yeah.
Accelerating the spread of existing information and new ways of thinking.
Right.
Ultimately leading to a profound cultural and intellectual transformation.
Yeah, so a single invention can have this ripple effect throughout society, acting as a catalyst for broader changes.
Yeah, like a domino effect, setting off a chain reaction of innovation and progress.
It's a powerful reminder of how these seemingly small innovations can have an outsized impact on the course of history.
They can.
This brings up a question for you listening. What catalysts have driven significant change in your own life?
Yeah. What were those turning points?
Right. It could be a book, a mentor, even a a chance encounter.
Yeah.
Those seemingly small events that set you on a new path.
That set you on a completely different trajectory.
Yeah, that's making me think about all the people and experiences that have shaped who I am today.
Yeah.
The catalyst that set me on my current trajectory.
Yeah, yeah.
And it makes me wonder what catalysts I might encounter in the future. What unexpected events or interactions might spark new growth and change.
Yeah, well, let's not get ahead of ourselves. We got a lot more ground to cover.
Right.
But tell me more about this concept of alloying. Alloying?
So that's about combining different elements.
It is.
To create something stronger and more valuable than the individual parts.
Absolutely. It's about recognizing that the whole can be greater than the sum of its parts.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's about synergy.
Synergy, exactly.
Like combining different skills, perspectives, or even resources to create something truly remarkable.
Exactly. Think about bronze, for example.
Yeah.
It's a copper tin alloy that revolutionized ancient warfare and tool making.
Wow.
And it was far more durable and useful than either copper or tin alone.
Right.
The combination of their properties created a material with superior qualities.
So it's like combining different skills and perspectives can lead to these incredible breakthroughs.
Absolutely.
And innovations. It's not just about individual brilliance. It's about the power of collaboration.
It is.
And diverse thinking. So this brings up a very important question. How can you apply this principle of alloying to your own life?
Yeah, how can you combine forces?
Yeah.
Think about forming strategic partnerships.
All right.
Collaborating with people who have complementary skills, or even just seeking out, diverse perspectives to enhance your own understanding, problem-solving abilities.
This is getting me excited about all the possibilities.
Yeah, it's pretty cool stuff.
Combining forces, leveraging different strengths.
Absolutely.
It's like a recipe for success.
It is.
But for now, let's shift gears and dive into the fascinating world of biology.
Oh, I love biology.
And explore the concept of natural selection.
Natural selection.
Now, natural selection is the driving force behind the incredible diversity and adaptability of life on Earth.
Wow.
It's the process by which organisms with traits better suited to their environment are more likely to survive and reproduce, passing on those advantageous traits to their offspring.
Yeah.
It's like nature's constantly running these experiments.
It is.
And the most successful adaptations win out.
Yeah.
Survival of the fittest. Bring it on. And just like in nature, we need to be adaptable to thrive in our own constantly changing world.
Absolutely.
Think about the evolution of languages.
Okay.
French, for example, has adapted and thrived by incorporating elements from other languages.
Yeah.
Making it flexible and constantly evolving.
Yeah.
On the other hand, Latin, which remained more rigid, eventually died out as a spoken language.
It did.
So languages, just like species, need to be able to adapt to survive.
Yeah.
Sticking rigidly to the old ways can lead to extinction.
Absolutely. That's a powerful insight.
And this brings up another crucial concept, the Red Queen effect.
Oh, the Red Queen effect.
Now, it comes from Lewis Carroll's Through the Looking Glass, where the Red Queen says, now here, you see, it takes all the running you can do to keep in the same place. So it's about the need for constant adaptation just to keep up in a dynamic environment.
To keep up with the Joneses.
Right.
So to speak.
You can't rest on your laurels.
No.
You have to keep moving forward just to stay in the game.
You gotta keep running to stay in the same place.
Complacency can be fatal.
It can be fatal.
And this reminds me of the French army in World War II.
Oh, yeah.
They failed to adapt to the changing nature of warfare, clung to outdated strategies, and were swiftly defeated by the German Blitzkrieg.
Yeah, the Blitzkrieg.
It's a stark reminder that embracing continuous learning and adaptation is essential for success in any competitive environment.
In any competitive environment.
And this is making me think about, all the rapid changes happening in technology. If you're not constantly learning and updating your skills, you'll quickly become obsolete.
Absolutely, yeah.
It's like the Red Queen is chasing us all. We've got to keep running just to stay ahead.
We do.
Now let's explore another fascinating aspect of evolution.
Okay.
Exaptation.
Exaptation. I love exaptation.
Now, what is exaptation?
It's when a trait that evolved for one purpose is later co-opted for a completely different function.
Okay, so give me an example.
Think about feathers.
Okay.
They initially evolved for insulation and display in dinosaurs, but were later adapted for flight in birds.
Wow.
Nature is incredibly resourceful, repurposing existing structures in unexpected and ingenious ways.
Yeah, so it's like thinking outside the box and seeing the hidden potential in things that others might overlook.
Absolutely.
Finding new uses for old tools.
Exactly. And this principle can be applied to our own lives.
Okay.
Right? Think about the fax machine.
Okay.
Struggled to compete with telegraphy and telephony
until
it found its niche in transmitting images.
Right.
Sometimes the key to success is recognizing new applications for existing technologies or skills.
That's like the fax machine adapted to survive.
It did.
It found its unique value proposition in a changing world.
Exactly. A great example.
And this brings up another important theme we've been exploring, the importance of cooperation and interconnected systems.
Cooperation, one of my favorites.
Absolutely. We often think of ourselves as individuals operating in isolation.
Yeah.
But in reality, we're all part of a larger ecosystem.
We are.
Our actions impact others. Mm-hmm. And their actions impact us.
Yeah.
It's a complex web of relationships.
It's a complex web.
And interdependencies.
Absolutely.
Cooperation.
Yeah.
Teamwork makes the dream work right.
It does.
But sometimes it feels like we're more focused on competition than collaboration.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. And it's important to recognize that both competition and cooperation play a role in shaping ecosystems and societies.
Right.
But understanding the interconnectedness of systems is crucial for finding sustainable solutions.
Okay, so give me an example. How does this play out in the natural world?
Well, think about elephants and captive breeding programs. Right. While well-intentioned, these programs often fail to consider the broader environmental issues that threaten elephant populations.
Right.
Focusing on one species without addressing the health of the entire ecosystem is short-sighted and ultimately ineffective. It highlights the importance of systems thinking, understanding how different parts interact and influence each other.
So it's like sometimes we get so focused on a single issue that we miss the bigger picture.
The bigger picture.
And the potential unintended consequences of our actions.
Absolutely.
Now let's talk about keystone species.
Oh, keystone species. I love this concept.
Now these are organisms that play a disproportionately large role in maintaining the stability of their ecosystems.
Yeah, they're really important, right? They may not be the most abundant or even the most visible species.
Right.
But their presence has a cascading effect on the entire system.
So like a small change in a keystone species can have a huge impact on the entire ecosystem.
It can.
It's like the linchpin that holds everything together.
Yeah, and this concept can be applied to leadership as well.
Okay.
Right? Effective leaders create a supportive and collaborative environment where individuals can thrive and contribute their unique talents. Think about the Chilean miners trapped underground for 69 days.
Oh, yeah.
Their survival was due in large part to strong leadership, clear communication, and a shared belief in their ability to overcome the situation.
Wow, what an inspiring example of how cooperation and shared goals can lead to extraordinary results.
Absolutely.
It's a reminder that we can achieve incredible things when we work together towards a common purpose.
We can.
But I think for now we need a little break
to
process everything we've covered so far.
Okay. Sounds good.
It's amazing how all these seemingly disparate concepts are interconnected.
They are. Welcome back. It's exciting to continue our exploration of adaptation and interconnectedness.
Yeah.
We've talked about the importance of, understanding forces, perspectives, the flow of energy and information.
Right.
Now let's dive into the concept of limiting factors. Have you ever noticed how even when most things are going well, a single missing element can hold you back.
Oh, absolutely. It's like that saying, a chain is only as strong as its weakest link.
Exactly.
But how does that apply to bigger systems?
Yeah.
Like businesses or even entire societies?
It's fascinating how this principle applies to so many different levels.
Yeah.
Think about a complex project like building a house.
Okay.
You might have skilled workers.
Right.
Quality materials.
Right.
A solid plan. But if you're lacking a key permit,
right,
the entire project could be delayed.
Yeah.
Or consider a plant that needs, sunlight, water, and nutrients to grow.
Right.
If there's plenty of sunlight and water, but the soil is lacking a crucial nutrient,
right,
the plant's growth will be stunted no matter how abundant the other resources are.
So it's not just about having enough of everything. It's about identifying those critical elements that are in short supply.
Yeah, those limiting factors that can make or break a project,
right,
a process, even an entire ecosystem.
Yeah, and it highlights the importance of resource allocation.
Absolutely.
Sometimes focusing on improving that most limiting factor can lead to the greatest overall improvement.
It can.
It's about recognizing those bottlenecks and finding ways to address them strategically.
It is.
This reminds me of a time when I was working on this big project and we were constantly hitting these delays. And it felt like we were just spinning our wheels.
Yeah.
And everyone was getting frustrated.
Yeah.
And we finally realized that the problem wasn't a lack of effort or resources, but a single approval process.
Oh, interesting.
That was bottlenecking everything.
Wow.
Once we streamlined that process, the whole project started moving forward much, much more smoothly.
Yeah. That is a perfect example of how identifying and addressing a limiting factor can unlock progress and create a ripple effect of positive change.
Right. And this leads us to a closely related concept.
Okay.
The law of the minimum.
The law of the minimum.
Sounds serious.
It is serious.
Tell me more.
Well, it's a principle that states the growth and development of an organism are limited by the scarcest essential nutrient, regardless of the abundance of other resources.
Okay.
So it's like a barrel with staves of different lengths.
Okay.
The shortest stave determines how much water the barrel can hold.
Right.
No matter how tall the other staves are.
So even if you have plenty of everything else, that one deficiency can hold you back from reaching your full potential.
It can. This law has significant implications for understanding ecological systems.
Right.
For example, if a certain species depends on a specific mineral that's in short supply, its population will be limited even if there's an abundance of food and other resources.
So it's like that old saying, you're only as strong as your weakest point.
You are only as strong as your weakest point.
Right.
It's true.
And this principle can be applied to so many different areas of life.
Absolutely.
Think about your own goals and aspirations.
Yeah.
What are the limiting factors that might be holding you back?
Yeah, what are those shortest staves that are preventing you from achieving your full potential?
That's a great question to consider.
It is.
It's easy to get, caught up in focusing on what we have or what we're doing well.
Yeah.
But sometimes the real breakthroughs come from identifying those areas where we're lacking and finding ways to address them.
Absolutely.
It's like shifting our focus from abundance to identifying those critical deficiencies that are holding us back. Now you mentioned that this concept of limiting factors applies to entire societies as well.
It does.
Can you give me an example of that?
Absolutely. Think about China's trade policies in the 16th century.
Okay.
They had this strict policy of restricting trade with the outside world, believing in self-sufficiency, and viewing foreign goods as unnecessary. However, there was one one crucial exception.
Okay.
Silver.
Silver. Why silver?
Well, at the time, silver was the global currency, and China needed it to finance its growing economy and expanding bureaucracy. Okay. They had a vast abundance of goods and resources, but silver was the limiting factor for their economic growth. So they allowed foreign merchants to trade silver for Chinese goods, creating a lucrative trade imbalance in China's favor.
So it's like they had all these valuable goods and resources, but their access to silver was the bottleneck.
It was.
To determine their economic prosperity.
Absolutely.
But this influx of silver had some unintended consequences.
It did.
Oh, what happened?
Well, the abundance of silver led to inflation, which destabilized the economy and created social unrest.
Right.
It also made China a target for pirates and other foreign powers seeking to profit from their vast silver reserve.
So even something as seemingly positive as an abundance of wealth can have negative consequences if it disrupts the balance of the system.
Absolutely.
Like they focused on removing one limiting factor.
Yeah.
But in doing so, they inadvertently created new challenges and vulnerabilities.
It highlights the importance of understanding the interconnectedness of systems and anticipating potential unintended consequences. Their actions often have ripple effects.
Yeah.
And what might seem like a simple solution can lead to complex and unforeseen outcomes.
Yeah. Okay. So we've talked about limiting factors.
We have.
And how they can impact everything from individual projects to entire economies.
Yeah.
But what about those systems that are able to adapt and thrive?
Yeah.
Despite facing disruptions and challenges?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
And it brings us to the vibrant city of Manila in the Philippines.
Oh.
During the 16th and 17th centuries,
Okay.
Manila was a thriving hub of international trade, connecting China, Spain, and the Americas.
Wow.
It was a melting pot of cultures and goods, a bustling center of commerce and exchange.
A melting pot of cultures. That sounds fascinating.
It is.
But what kind of disruptions did they face?
Well, in 1603, tensions between the Chinese and Spanish communities erupted, culminating in a massacre of the Chinese population.
Oh no, that's terrible. What caused the conflict?
There are many factors at play, including economic competition, cultural misunderstandings, and political power struggles.
Right.
The Spaniards, fueled by fear and suspicion, viewed the growing Chinese population as a threat to their authority and control.
It's a reminder that even in a diverse and interconnected society, fear and prejudice can lead to violence and disruption.
Absolutely.
But you mentioned that Manila's ecosystem was resilient.
Yes.
How did they recover from such a horrific event?
That's the fascinating part.
Yeah.
Despite the massacre, the Spanish authorities quickly realized that they needed the Chinese to return for the city to thrive again. Yeah. The Chinese merchants and traders were essential to Manila's economy.
Right.
And their absence created a significant void.
So it's the system itself recognized the value of diversity.
It did.
And adapted to restore balance.
Exactly. Within a few years, Chinese merchants and workers were back in Manila.
Wow.
And the city continued to flourish as a center of trade and cultural exchange.
It's an inspiring example of how even after a tragedy, communities can rebuild and find ways to coexist and strive.
They can.
This is making me think about how diverse ecosystems are often more resilient than those that are homogeneous.
They are.
Like a forest with a variety of tree species is less susceptible to disease or pests than a monoculture forest.
Absolutely.
Same principle seems to apply to human society.
It does.
Now let's shift gears again and explore the different type of ecosystem. The culture of a high performing sports team.
Ooh, I love sports.
Okay, so what can we learn from the world of sports?
A lot.
Yeah.
Think about the legendary coach Bill Walsh.
Okay.
and his transformation of the San Francisco 49ers in the 1980s.
Oh, yeah, the guy created the West Coast offense.
That's the guy.
Yeah.
Walsh didn't just focus on individual talent or specific plays.
Right.
He built a culture of excellence.
Okay.
A system where players were empowered to contribute their unique skills and work together towards a common goal.
Right.
He understood the importance of clear communication, accountability, and a shared sense of purpose.
So it's like he created a winning ecosystem.
He did.
Where the whole was greater than the sum of its parts.
He did, exactly.
And this approach led to sustained success.
It did.
With the 49ers becoming a dominant force in the NFL.
Yeah, multiple Super Bowls.
Yeah, it's amazing.
It's a reminder that a strong culture and a shared sense of purpose
can be a powerful driver of achievement.
Absolutely.
It also highlights the importance of adaptability.
It does.
Walsh understood that player turnover was inevitable. So he built a system that could adapt to change and continue to thrive.
Yeah.
Even as individual players.
Came and went. Yeah, he focused on creating a sustainable culture rather than relying solely on individual talent.
Right. And this brings up a fascinating question.
Okay.
How do individuals and organizations navigate the choices between specializing in a specific area or developing a broader range of skills?
It's the age-old debate between specialization and generalization.
This sounds like this could apply to career choices.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, in biology, we see that species have different strategies for survival. Some are specialists thriving in specific niches, while others are generalists adapting to a wider range of environments.
So a specialist is like a master chef who excels at a particular cuisine.
Yeah.
While a generalist is more like a home cook who can whip up a variety of dishes.
That is a great analogy.
Yeah.
And just like in nature, there are advantages and disadvantages to both approaches.
Okay, so break it down for me. What are the pros and cons of each strategy?
Well, specialists, they often excel in stable environments where their specific skills are highly valued.
Okay.
Think of a species that has adapted to a very, very particular food source or habitat.
Right.
They can outcompete others in that niche.
Yeah.
But if the environment changes, they may struggle to survive.
Right. So it's like putting all your eggs in one basket.
Exactly.
High reward, but also high risk.
Whereas on the other hand,
generalists are more adaptable.
Okay.
And can survive in a wider range of conditions.
Right.
They may not be the best at any one thing.
Right.
But their flexibility allows them to thrive in changing environments.
So it's like a jack of all trades, master of none.
Yeah.
But still pretty successful overall.
Okay. Right. And the key takeaway here is that the best strategy really depends on the context.
Yeah.
In a rapidly changing world.
Yeah.
Adaptability.
Right.
And a broad range of skills can be a huge advantage.
Right.
But in a more stable environment, specializing in a particular area can lead to greater success.
This is making me think about my own career path.
Yeah.
Maybe instead of focusing on becoming an expert in one specific area, maybe I should focus on developing a broader range of skills.
Yeah.
That would make me more adaptable to future changes in the job market.
That's a great insight.
Yeah. It's about recognizing that the world is constantly changing.
Right.
And the ability to adapt and evolve is crucial for long-term success.
Right.
Now let's look at a fascinating example from the animal world that illustrates this competition between specialists and generalists. The red and gray squirrels.
Okay, I'm ready for a squirrel showdown.
I love it.
Tell me more.
Red squirrels are native to the UK.
Okay.
And were once the dominant squirrel species.
Okay.
They're specialists adapted to thrive in in coniferous forests.
So they're like the kings of the pine cones.
They are the kings of the pine cones.
Oh.
But in the 19th century, gray squirrels were introduced from North America.
Oh.
They're generalists,
Right.
able to adapt to a wider range of habitats and food sources.
Right.
And they're also larger and more aggressive.
Uh-oh, that doesn't sound good for the red squirrels.
It didn't.
Yeah.
The gray squirrels outcompeted the red squirrels for resources.
Yeah.
And they also introduced a virus
Right.
that was deadly to the native species.
Right.
So today, red squirrels are endangered,
Wow.
while gray squirrels are thriving throughout much of the UK.
Wow, it's a reminder that even a small change in the ecosystem can have a cascading effect,
They can.
leading to winners and losers.
Absolutely.
It's like the introduction of the gray squirrels completely disrupted the balance of the ecosystem,
It did.
pushing the red squirrels to the brink of extinction.
It did.
And it highlights the importance of understanding competitive dynamics and how even seemingly insignificant introductions can have a profound impact on the course of events.
They can.
Sometimes those subtle shifts in the environment can have these dramatic and unexpected consequences.
They can.
This is making me think about how we approach innovation and disruption. You know, like sometimes a new technology or business model can completely shake up an industry, creating new winners.
Yeah.
And pushing existing players to adapt or face extinction.
Adapt or die, so to speak.
It's like the gray squirrel of the business world.
Gray squirrel of the business world. Yeah.
Those who can adapt and evolve thrive, while those who cling to the old ways often get left behind.
They do.
Now let's explore a fascinating example of how a species, or in this case, a technology, can adapt and thrive, even in the face of intense competition.
Okay.
The story of the fax machine.
The fax machine. Oh, I love the fax machine.
The fax machine, didn't that go extinct with the dinosaurs?
You'd be surprised.
Okay.
The fax machine was actually invented in the 1840s.
Wow.
Long before the telephone.
Wow.
And it was a remarkable invention for its time, but it struggled to compete with the telephone and later, email for transmitting text.
So how did it survive? I mean, I haven't seen a fax machine in years.
By finding its niche,
Right.
it turned out that the fax machine excelled at transmitting images.
Okay.
Something that the telephone and early email couldn't do.
Right.
This allowed it to carve out a valuable space in industries like journalism, law enforcement, where transmitting visual information quickly and securely was essential.
So it's like it found a way to differentiate itself.
It did.
And provide a unique value proposition.
Yeah.
It adapted to the changing technological landscape.
It did.
And found a new way to thrive.
Exactly. It's a reminder that even in a crowded marketplace, there's always room for innovation and specialization.
Right.
You know?
This is making me think about how businesses need to constantly adapt and evolve to stay ahead of the competition.
Yeah.
Like finding that unique niche that sets you apart can be the key to survival.
It can be.
And even thriving.
It can be.
It's not always about being the biggest or the fastest. It's about finding that sweet spot.
Yeah.
Where you can excel and provide real value.
Absolutely.
Now, let's dive into another fascinating biological concept. Convergent evolution.
Convergent evolution.
Now, what's convergent evolution?
It's when unrelated species evolve similar traits because they're adapting to similar environments or ecological niches.
So it's like different paths leading to the same destination.
Precisely. Think about dolphins and sharks.
Okay.
They're completely unrelated species.
Right.
But they've both evolved streamlined bodies and fins because they live in the ocean and need to be efficient swimmers.
Right.
The environment itself shapes the evolution of different species, pushing them towards similar solutions.
So it's like the environment acts as a filter.
Yeah.
Selecting for those traits that are most advantageous for survival and reproduction.
It does.
And over time that can lead to some pretty remarkable similarities between otherwise unrelated species.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing.
Yeah, and this principle can be applied to human behavior.
Yeah.
And cultural evolution as well.
Absolutely.
Okay, so give me an example.
Yeah.
How has convergent evolution shaped something we experience every day?
Well, consider the development of cities.
Okay.
Throughout history, cities have emerged independently in different parts of the world, often developing similar features like centralized marketplaces,
right,
religious centers, and defensive walls.
It's like humans have this natural inclination to organize themselves in certain ways, regardless of their culture or location.
Yeah.
There are certain universal patterns that emerge when we try to solve similar problems.
Exactly. It's a reminder that there are certain fundamental principles that drive human behavior in social organization, regardless of our differences.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, you mentioned cultural evolution.
I did.
Can you give me an example of how convergent evolution has shaped a product or a brand?
Absolutely. Think about Coca-Cola.
Okay.
And its global dominance.
Okay, I'm ready for a Coke break.
Coca-Cola is a fascinating example of how a product can adapt and thrive in a wide range of cultures and environments. Its success can be attributed in part to its ability to adapt its marketing and branding to appeal to different tastes and cultural values.
So it's like it found a way to be both unique and universal.
Yeah, it adapted to local tastes and customs while maintaining its core brand identity.
Yeah, and this adaptability allowed it to outcompete local brands and establish itself as a global beverage giant.
A global beverage giant.
Right. It's a reminder that understanding cultural nuances and finding ways to connect with diverse audiences can be a key to global success.
It's true.
Now let's shift gears and discuss the powerful concept of altruism.
Altruism.
Now, isn't that about being selfless and helping others?
Yeah, that's a big part of it.
But if it's all about survival of the fittest, why would anyone sacrifice themselves for others?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
And it's one that has puzzled biologists and philosophers for centuries.
Yeah.
But from an evolutionary perspective, altruism can seem paradoxical. Right. How can behaviors that benefit others at the expense of the individual's own survival be favored by natural selection?
Yeah, it seems counterintuitive.
It does.
If we're all just trying to survive and pass on our genes, why would we ever put ourselves at risk to help someone else?
Well, one explanation is the concept of kin selection.
Kin selection. Okay.
It's the idea that individuals are more likely to help those who share their genes.
Right.
Even if it means, putting themselves at risk by helping relatives survive and reproduce. Yeah. They're indirectly ensuring the survival of their own genes.
So it's like a mother bear protecting her cubs.
Yeah.
Even if it means, risking her own life.
Yeah.
She's not just being a good mom.
Right.
She's also ensuring the continuation of her genetic lineage.
She is. Yeah. And this principle applies to humans as well. Right. We're more likely to help family members and close friends, even if it comes at a personal cost.
Yeah, this is making me think about all the sacrifices parents made for their children.
Yeah.
It's not always a conscious calculation.
Right.
But there's this deep biological drive to ensure the well-being of our offspring.
Absolutely.
To help them, thrive and succeed.
Yeah, and it's a powerful drive.
Yeah.
Now let's explore an example that challenges this traditional view of self-preservation.
Okay.
The story of Gioconda Belli and her involvement in the Sandinista revolution in Nicaragua.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Tell me more about Gioconda Belli.
So Belli was a writer and poet. Welcome back. We've covered so much ground in our deep dive today, from the physics of ships to the chemistry of change, all the way to the complex dynamics of ecosystems and human behavior.
Yeah, my mind is definitely full.
It is.
But in a good way.
In a good way, yeah.
It's fascinating how all these seemingly unrelated topics are connected by these underlying principles.
It is. It's really quite remarkable.
Yeah, and it's as we wrap up our exploration today, I want to focus on one of the most powerful forces shaping both the natural world and human societies. Cooperation.
One of my favorites.
Yeah, and we've touched on it throughout our conversation, but I really want to explore it, in more depth.
Yeah, let's dive deeper into cooperation. One of the most compelling examples of cooperation in human history is the development of symphony orchestras.
Okay.
Think about the intricate coordination required for dozens of musicians to play together in harmony.
Right.
Creating a complex and beautiful piece of music.
It's incredible. Each musician is highly skilled in their own right.
They are.
But it's their ability to listen, adapt, and synchronize their efforts that creates the magic of a symphony orchestra.
It does. Each musician has a specific role to play,
right?
A specific part to contribute, but it's the conductor who guides them, who harmonizes their individual efforts and shapes their individual contributions into a unified and breathtaking whole. It's really quite remarkable. The conductor is in a sense a master of cooperation, a facilitator of collective brilliance.
Yeah, it's a really powerful analogy for how cooperation works in other areas of life, businesses, communities, even entire societies. It's not just about individual talent or ambition. Yeah. It's about finding ways to leverage those individual strengths and create a system where everyone can contribute their best and achieve something extraordinary together.
Absolutely. And speaking of extraordinary achievements through cooperation, let's explore the story of the Montreal Women's Symphony Orchestra, founded in 1940.
A women's orchestra. That's intriguing. I've never heard of it. Tell me more.
Well, at the time, professional orchestras were almost exclusively male dominated.
Yeah.
But a group of talented and determined women in Montreal saw an opportunity. They weren't content to accept the status quo. They decided to create their own path.
Right.
They formed their own orchestra, drawing on a diverse pool of musicians.
Okay.
From seasoned professionals to passionate amateurs, all united by their shared love of music and their determination to break down barriers.
So they created their own space.
They did.
Their own opportunity in a field that had traditionally excluded them.
Yeah, it takes courage and vision to do that.
And their success was due in large part to their shared passion and their unwavering commitment to cooperation.
Absolutely. They supported each other, practiced tirelessly, and challenged each other to grow and excel.
Right.
And ultimately they achieved a level of excellence that rivaled that of their male counterparts.
It's a powerful reminder that cooperation can be a catalyst for breaking down barriers, for challenging traditional power structures.
Absolutely.
And for achieving extraordinary results in the face of adversity.
It is. It's really quite inspiring. Now cooperation isn't just about coordinating actions or working towards a common goal. It's also about sharing beliefs, values, and ideas.
Okay.
Shared beliefs are the invisible threads that connect us.
Right.
The glue that holds societies together.
So shared beliefs. I mean that's what religions and ideologies are all about, right?
They are.
Creating a sense of belonging and shared purpose.
Absolutely. Those are powerful examples. But shared beliefs extend far beyond formal institutions.
Okay.
They shape our understanding of the world, influence our behavior.
Right.
Provide a framework for making sense of our experiences. Think about something as fundamental as money.
Okay.
Money itself has no intrinsic value. It's just pieces of paper or metal.
Right. Yep.
But we all agree that it has value, and that shared belief allows us to use it as a medium of exchange,
right?
Facilitating facilitating complex economic transactions. That would be impossible otherwise.
So it's like our collective belief in something gives it power and meaning.
It does.
It's a shared illusion that we all agree to participate in.
It is. And this principle applies to many other aspects of our lives, from social norms to legal systems, to political ideologies. Our shared beliefs create a framework for cooperation, allowing us to navigate the complexities of social life and build functioning societies.
This is making me think about the importance of trust in society. Like if we don't trust each other or our institutions, it can lead to chaos, breakdown, and ultimately conflict.
It can.
Shared beliefs. When they're based on trust and mutual respect, can act as this stabilizing force, creating a foundation for cooperation and progress.
That's a great insight. Trust is indeed essential for cooperation to flourish. And speaking of trust and cooperation in the face of adversity, let's revisit the story of the Chilean miners trapped underground for 69 days.
Yeah, we talked about their incredible leadership. But I'm curious to hear more about the role of shared beliefs in their survival.
Well, in the face of unimaginable fear, uncertainty, and isolation, those miners drew strength from their shared belief that they would be rescued. They had faith in their families, their rescuers, and in their own collective resilience.
So their hope, their belief in a positive outcome helped them persevere through an incredibly challenging ordeal. It wasn't just about physical survival. It was about maintaining that mental and emotional strength, that sense of hope that kept them going.
It did. Their shared belief created a sense of unity and purpose that was essential for maintaining morale and cooperation. It allowed them to transcend their individual fears and anxieties and tap into a collective strength that sustained them through those dark and uncertain days.
It's a reminder that even in the darkest of times, our beliefs can be a powerful source of strength and resilience.
Absolutely.
And that our ability to cooperate, to support each other, and to maintain hope can make all the difference in overcoming seemingly insurmountable challenges.
It can. Well, as we conclude our deep dive today, I want to leave you with a final thought-provoking question to ponder.
Great.
How can you apply these principles of adaptation, leverage, and cooperation to navigate the ever-changing landscape of your own life and achieve greater success and fulfillment?
Wow, that's a great question. And I think this deep dive has given me a whole new set of tools and perspectives to approach life's challenges and opportunities. I'm feeling inspired to look for those points of leverage, to embrace change and adaptation, and to seek out opportunities for cooperation and collaboration. It's like a whole new world of possibilities has opened up.
That's fantastic. Remember, the real learning comes from applying these principles to your own experiences, and continuing to explore the connections and patterns that shape our world. Keep asking questions, keep challenging assumptions, and keep seeking out those moments of insight and understanding.
Well, thank you so much for joining us on this incredible journey. It's been an amazing exploration, and I'm feeling energized and ready to tackle whatever challenges and opportunities come my way.
It's been a pleasure. And to our listeners, thank you for diving in with us. Keep exploring, keep learning, and keep connecting the dots.